It was fall 2010. We had just moved to a quiet little town in Indiana, called Harmony Creek. Name changed. Life here was slow, pleasant, completely opposite to the hustle and bustle of where we used to live. One beautiful sunny weekend afternoon, my husband, Tom, name changed, and I took our 7-year-old son, Leo, name changed, to Harmony Creek Park to play. This park was quite large, with a playground, open grassy areas, and a small patch of woods at the edge. Leo was an active, curious boy, eager to explore everything around him. That day, while Tom and I sat on a bench watching, he ran and played everywhere. His cheerful laughter echoing, he ran towards the edge of the park, where there were large old trees and a small trail leading into the woods. We weren't too worried, as the area was still within sight, although a bit far. Suddenly, I saw Leo stop near a large old oak tree, about 50 meters from where we were sitting. The boy stood still, looking towards the base of the tree, then gently waved, his face full of curiosity and excitement. I squinted, trying to see who the boy was waving at, but saw no one there. "Do you see anyone standing near Leo?" I asked Tom. Tom looked in the direction I pointed, then shook his head. "No one there. Maybe he saw a squirrel or a bird." But then, I saw Leo run quickly towards that oak tree. His face was beaming as if he had been called over for a gift. Tom and I looked at each other, slightly puzzled, then simultaneously called out to our son, "Leo, what are you doing? Come back here." Leo stopped when he heard us call, but still stood there, looking towards the tree for another second, then turned around, his face radiant, running quickly towards us. As he ran, he held up one hand, as if showing something off. When the boy ran closer, Tom and I stood up, relieved but also a little worried. "What were you doing over there? We kept calling you," I said, my voice slightly sharp. Leo ran up to us, his face smudged with sweat and dirt, but his eyes shining. He eagerly held out his small hand. "Mommy, that man gave me this." In the boy's small hand, it wasn't a piece of candy or a toy. It was a handful of wet, dark, foul-smelling mud. It was dirty and slimy. Along with it came a nasty, fishy odor, the smell of long damp earth or something decaying. Tom and I looked at the handful of mud in our son's hand, then looked at each other in shock. "What is this?" Tom said, his voice filled with surprise. "Who gave you this?" "That man," Leo said, his face innocent. "He waved at me. He smiled kindly. And then he gave me this. He said it was delicious candy." "What man?" I asked, looking towards the oak tree, which was empty. "There's no one there, son." "Yes, there was, Mom," Leo insisted, his face slightly confused by our reaction. "He was wearing old clothes. He was standing there, and then he disappeared when I ran over." We were utterly bewildered. Tom immediately took out his phone. He had taken a short video clip when Leo ran towards the tree earlier. Just for fun, we opened the video to watch it again. The image on the phone was a bit shaky, but still clear. Leo ran towards the oak tree, stopped, and waved. The boy stood there for a moment, looking towards the base of the tree. Then, suddenly, Leo's hand reached out as if taking something from the air. At the same moment, in the video, I saw the boy's hand slowly close. And when he turned around and ran back towards us, that hand already contained a handful of dirty mud. No one else was in the frame. No human shape, no strange object, just Leo and the tree. In that moment, Tom and I looked at each other, our faces pale, an icy chill running down our spines. It wasn't a prank, not an illusion. Our son had just received a handful of mud from something invisible. A primal, horrifying fear washed over us. Fear for our son's safety. We knew something evil was lurking in this peaceful park, and it had targeted our son. After the incident at the park, we never took Leo back there again. That handful of mud was discarded immediately. But the foul smell and the sickening feeling clung to us. Leo seemed unaffected. He was just a little sad about not getting delicious candy. But we were completely shaken. That video was undeniable proof, yet completely unexplainable. A few days later, strange things began to happen in the house. Leo started exhibiting unusual behavior. The boy became quieter, often staring blankly at empty corners as if talking to someone we couldn't see. His dreams became terrifying. He would wake up screaming in the middle of the night, calling out, "Mister," or muttering about dirty ground. Physical signs also appeared. I started finding small streaks of mud on the floor, even though we had cleaned thoroughly. These mud streaks didn't look like normal dirt from the garden. They were darker and had that same unpleasant fishy smell as the handful of mud Leo held that day. They often appeared in areas where Leo had just been playing, or near his bed in the morning. Leo's favorite toys, especially the ones he carried around the house, began to be found in strange places. A toy car in the middle of the hallway at midnight. A small stuffed animal found neatly placed under the kitchen counter, covered in a thin layer of dust and dirt. It felt like someone, or something, was playing with the boy's toys when we weren't looking. A feeling of being watched began to surface, not just when near Leo, but throughout the house. The feeling that someone was observing us from another room, from behind our backs. The air in the house would sometimes become suddenly cold in areas with no explanation. Tom and I talked a lot, sometimes leading to tense arguments. Tom initially tried to explain it scientifically. Maybe Leo had an imaginary friend and dirtied his own hands. But that video, the mysteriously appearing mud streaks, and the clear change in Leo, gradually made him unable to deny it anymore. We were afraid, not knowing what to do, not knowing what we were dealing with. Our biggest fear was what that thing wanted from our son. The strange events escalated, and they seemed directly aimed at luring Leo back to that invisible friend. The noises in the house became clearer and more terrifying. We started hearing faint children's laughter, echoing from somewhere in the house, or sometimes whimpering, mournful cries. Mixed with those sounds was a voice, hoarse, low-pitched, sometimes a mumble, sometimes calling Leo's name. The voice wasn't clear, as if echoing from very far away or from beneath the ground. But there was something very enticing about it, like how a stranger might lure a child with candy. Sometimes, Leo would stop what he was doing, tilt his head listening, then start walking towards the source of the sound, until we called him back. Visuals also began to appear, not the clear shape of the stranger from the park, but shadows darting across the peripheral vision, blurry figures lurking at the end of the hallway or in the darkness. Sometimes, when watching Leo play, I would catch a glimpse of a tall shadow standing behind him, bending down as if talking, then disappearing instantly. It felt like someone, or something, was in the house with Leo, invisibly, yet horrifyingly present. Leo's toys weren't just being moved anymore. They were being deliberately soiled. His favorite items were found partially buried under dry mud, exactly like the handful of mud from the park. Once, I found Leo's favorite pillow on the floor, with a large mud stain, and when I picked it up, I smelled the strong, foul odor. Psychological torment weighed heavily on the whole family. Leo talked less and less with us, instead whispering to his invisible friend. The innocent smile on his face gradually disappeared, replaced by fear and exhaustion. We slept very little, always on edge, listening for every sound, afraid of the darkness, and our biggest fear was waking up one day to find Leo gone. We knew that these things were connected to the park, and perhaps to the stranger, or whatever it was, that Leo had seen. Tom and I decided we had to find out about the history of Harmony Creek Park and the surrounding area. We started searching online, in local news archives, trying to find older residents who might know old stories. We found some information about the park. This land wasn't always a park. It used to be a desolate area, bordering the woods, rarely visited. About 40 years prior, in the 1970s, a horrifying crime occurred nearby, shocking the whole town. A man with a record of crimes against children had abducted and murdered 2 children, then disposed of their bodies in a secret location in that desolate area. He was later caught and died in prison, but the bodies of the 2 children were never found. What sent shivers down our spines was the location described in the old articles. Though not perfectly accurate, it was very close to the area of the oak tree where Leo had met the stranger. And the detail about disposing of the bodies, underground, that handful of mud, that foul smell, the connection to the earth, it all suddenly had a horrifying meaning. As we delved deeper into that old case, the disturbances in the house became more violent and malicious than ever. It was as if that thing knew we were getting close to the truth. The children's laughter turned into agonizing screams. The enticing mumble turned into angry growls. The mud streaks didn't just appear on the floor anymore. They appeared on the walls, on the furniture, forming strange shapes, sometimes like small hands trying to claw. Objects in the house were thrown. Lights flickered constantly. The haunting was no longer just psychological. It had begun to cause physical harm to the house and to us. Leo became increasingly fearful, clinging to us, but sometimes seemed to be pulled by an invisible force. The haunting escalated quickly and terrifyingly. That thing no longer hid its intentions, it wanted Leo. It seemed our investigation into the old case had triggered its anger and hatred. One night, we were awakened by Leo's blood-curdling scream. We rushed into our son's room and found him standing in the middle of the room, his eyes wide with terror, thrashing as if trying to escape an invisible grip. The foul smell of mud was overwhelming in the room. Then, beneath the floor, right where Leo was standing, the wooden floorboards strangely warped, as if something was trying to push up from below. This was accompanied by a horrifying rustling, scraping sound, like dirt and rocks being shifted. I saw small cracks appear in the floor, and dark mud began to seep out from the cracks. The hoarse voice echoed throughout the room, coming from nowhere in particular, as if echoing from the walls themselves. From beneath the floor, "Come here, to me. Leo, it's cold, down here." The voice was full of suffering, but also of coercion and malice. We rushed to grab Leo, trying to pull the boy away from that spot. The invisible pull on his legs was very strong, as if multiple hands were gripping him from beneath the ground. Tom tried to pry up the floorboards, but the wood was solid, and there was nothing beneath but the normal foundation. In the midst of the struggle, I caught a fleeting glimpse of an image in the air, a small, pale face, eyes wide with terror, and a distorted, grotesque smile. It was the face of a child, but warped by pain and anger. We used all our strength, pulling Leo away from that spot. backing towards the room's door. As we did, an angry growl echoed, and the floor in that spot partially collapsed, revealing a dark, damp void beneath, the smell of mud rushing up, sickeningly nauseating. From that dark void, I swear I saw mud-caked fingers trying to reach up, grasping at the air. We ran out of the room, holding Leo tightly, slamming the door shut. That thing was trapped there, beneath the earth of our own house, connected to the bloody past of this land, and it wanted our son. We left that house that very night, not daring to go back for anything. We moved to another town, started life over. Leo needed a long time to recover psychologically. The boy still had nightmares, still feared open spaces or anything related to mud and dirt. Even though we left, we knew that thing was still there, trapped in the past and in that land, in that Harmony Creek Park. And a part of that fear clung to us, especially to Leo. The boy would sometimes still talk about his old friend, but no longer with innocence. Instead, with a shudder, a fear. Sometimes, we would still smell the unpleasant odor of mud wafting through the house, even though there was no source. The dreams about the mud for candy, about the enticing voice from below, about the small pale face, still haunt both Tom and me. The video on the phone was still there, a cold and unexplainable proof of the moment an invisible entity approached our son and gave him a handful of dirt from a forgotten grave. We never watched it again. The story of Harmony Creek Park, the old case, and the stranger with the mud, became a dark secret we carried. We knew that there are places in this world that hold horrors so terrible that they create malevolent entities, eternally bound to the pain and wanting to drag others down with them. This story is true. It is the horrifying experience that changed our family's life forever. Fear has taken deep root in our souls, like the dirty mud that clung to my son's hand that day. If this story sent chills down your spine, if you believe in true horror, places haunted by the past, and evil forces targeting innocence, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for the next videos. There are still many other horrifying secrets waiting to be told.